enough for us. You're here to learn about marketing stuff. I'm sure you've seen the meetup page. So we've got an awesome person today, James Fitzjohn. He has worked for some of the world's biggest digital agencies. He's worked on some of the biggest brands, Unilever, Kmart. I'm sure you're going to tell us more. Yep. And he's going to take us through a simple marketing strategy that we can all apply to our startups. So please make him welcome, James Fitzjohn. I don't know, I'm not sure which mic is doing the... So if that happens, switch over. So here's the... I'm walking on the wall. Yeah, so you will need to use a mic because...
yeah, that's fine.
For the live stream. I'll get this sorted for you.
Yeah. Cheers. Good morning, everyone.
There we go.
There you go. Cool. Does that work? Good morning, everyone. My name's James. Thank you to Scott and Dave for having me, and thank you for everyone coming this morning. I'm truly humbled that you've all made the time. Thank you. And thank you to the millions probably tuning in on the live stream as well. Hi, Mum. She's seen the presentation already. She said it's too long. So I'm going to talk about a simple marketing strategy for startups. And this is the anatomy of what I mean by this title. The first one is obviously marketing strategy. Two very often misunderstood words and very overused as well. And together they can sound a little bit heavy. Marketing strategy does seem a little bit formal, but it doesn't need to be that way. But what I'm going to show you today is how we can demystify those two words and use it as a real value generator for your business going forward. I'm also going to make this as simple as possible, and you'll see that coming through my presentation, because I've got to apologise on behalf of marketers, because we have made this industry and discipline extremely complicated. I think there's a couple of reasons. One of them is technology. The other one is probably our sort of skill of persuasion, making it seem like you must speak to us to get your business through. And I've just got some examples there of a company called Marketing Charts, who have created their own chart that shows how complicated the industry is, and it will continue to be more complicated in the future. And a little Google search from me just says the problem with marketing, just the 3 billion search returns that are coming through there. But this is going to be tailored to your audience, to startups. I don't want it to be seen as simple because you don't understand. But these problems that we're seeing with marketing and marketing strategy is manifest in lots of different sectors, industries, large organisations, the loud end of town, as I like to call it. But they can afford to fail sometimes because they've got big budgets, they've got resources, they can write it off as an innovation play if it fails. I just wouldn't want those same situations to happen to this community as well. So I want to try and give those same lessons to the people in the room. And no one wants to be mansplained to on a Wednesday morning, and I certainly won't be doing that. So the theme of this presentation will be about showing you and not telling you the truth about marketing strategy. So what I'm going to do is show you why marketing strategy is essential to your business. Show you the issues that a lack of marketing strategy can cause to organisations. Show you how to spot strategy bullshit, and there is a lot out there. I'm going to show and give you a simple framework to create your own marketing strategy. I'm going to bring that to life through a startup company that I've created / made up over the weekend. And I'm going to show you how to organise your strategic thinking as well. But this is the question that you want to ask me. So yeah, my name is James. I'm the director and executive consultant at Brew. Brew is my own company, so as well as director and executive consultant, I am MD, CEO, junior vice president, and all of the above. I've worked in marketing, communications, creative, digital for the last 20 years. It's a career that's taken me from the UK originally, Dubai, Melbourne, and in Perth for the last 5 years. And I've worked for businesses of all types and all categories and all sectors, you know, from the big global multinationals to something a little bit more akin to this community as well. You'll see some of the brands that I've worked on there and some of the agencies that I've worked on there as well. Now, I've had a fantastic career, and it's taken me to some really interesting places, meeting some really interesting people and doing some really, really good work as well. But there was something that was nagging in the back of my mind, and that was whether the work that we were doing for these brands, was it making a difference? Was it being effective? And was it driving commercial sales? So that itch got really itchy, so it's towards October last year. So I decided to do something about it, and I set up my own strategy consultancy. This is the homepage. This was a video, but we didn't have the file size. And what Brew is designed to do is to help brands unlock the power of marketing and deliver on commercial outcomes. It's not about making more ads. It's not about making new websites. It's about linking marketing to delivery of business outcomes. The case for strategy. Now, this is the only mansplaining bit, I suppose. Everyone likes a definition of what strategy means, and there's a lot out there. I think this is the clearest articulation that I could find. A plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. I think that's as simple as we can put that. You can even put it even simpler. It's a path to get from A to B. And if we don't have strategy, what are the implications, I suppose? And again, without wanting to be too much doom and gloom, a lack of clarity and direction feels like the obvious one. Decision-making paralysis. If we have multiple choices, that means we've got multiple decisions, and sometimes that can feel overwhelming, and therefore we don't make any. An impediment to growth. If you're going in the wrong direction, you're not going to get to the place that you want to, so I think that is absolutely key. One of the major ones is wastage and inefficiency. If you do have multiple choices and you make the wrong one, that is an absolute waste of time. You need to go back to the beginning. In this sort of community, you could potentially be overlooked for investor funding if you don't have that strategic rigor that underpins your idea. And then another important one, the lower levels of customer centricity. If you don't have a marketing strategy, I'd like to think you are not facing or focusing on what the customer needs are. So that's something that's extremely important. So I'm just going to take a drink. Is it really bad? Hello! Oh, that is better. Wow. But what I'm going to do now is just give you two real-life scenarios that have happened to me where a lack of strategy has impacted a business outcome. I can't use any names, but if you ask me later, I might reveal who these organisations are. So company A says to me, we need an advertising campaign using only digital channels, because we are so digital, to communicate that we are the most caring brand in WA. Okay, who are we talking to? How do we know that we'll see the campaign? How do we know that, they're going to be on these digital channels? What are the other caring brands in WA doing? And is being caring important to your audience? What do we want to happen when your audience sees this message? Blank faces. Okay, fair enough. Here is your campaign. 6 weeks later, that didn't work as well as we would have liked. How do you know what were the campaign objectives? So I was guilty to give them the campaign, but this is a common scenario that you'll see out there in business. Now, in other roles where I've played a bit more of a business development role, I used to have a lot of conversations like this. And I was just telling Jack this very story earlier on. Hi there, I have an idea for an app and I would like to get a quote from you. Now there's red flags there. I have an idea for a business and I would like to get a quote for an app. Should be the way that we're doing that phrase. Thanks for getting in touch. Can you tell me a little bit about your business, please? Well, the app needs to be a bit like Amazon, but way cooler, and can it come in blue? Okay, who's your target audience? How will they hear about it? In what tone will you speak to them? When your target audience hears about the app and is interested, what do you want them to do? What is the value exchange that needs to happen there? Again, blank faces. So I go, okay, there we go. Sorry, I don't have the budget for that. Again, an absolute waste of time of a conversation. But just to give you a little bit more context. That's the bad one, is it? It gives me a cue to get a drink. Hello? 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 Some handy tools to make sure you spot strategy bullshit out there. Now my business strategy is in place, I can focus on my brand strategy. This will lead to my marketing strategy, which will likely inform my go-to-market strategy, which will house my optimization strategy, whilst underpinning my digital and SEO strategy. If you get any service providers wanting to speak to you and they speak in this way, please run for the hills. Also, if people say to you, well, Steve Jobs never had a strategy, again, absolute bullshit. Run away from those conversations, please. I don't plan to do any marketing. It's something we hear quite a lot as well, certainly in the startup community. If you don't plan to do any marketing, that means you don't plan to sell any of your products to customers, which, without wanting to understand your idea, I don't think that is the case. My idea is my strategy. No, again, please run away. And this is just a personal grammar police piece for me. That word does not fucking exist, so please don't use it. Anyway, that's enough of the context setting. Let's get into what I'm calling a simple marketing strategy. That's how simple it is, a few boxes. What I'm going to do is show you about research, and basically what insights do we have to form the basis or the foundations of this idea. We're then going to go into the core 3 things for a marketing strategy. And if you want to boil it down, this conversation, to anything, please focus on your audience, who are we targeting, your proposition, what do we want to say, or what do we want the audience to know about us, and what are the objectives? What do we want to happen when those 2 things happen? Those are the 3 most fundamental lessons that I could give you this morning. But what we'll also do is talk about some tactical levers, and you'll recognise the 4 Ps from business study school lessons, and they've been around for about 50 or 60 years now. They are still a useful tool to organise your business. So we'll go through product, we'll go through price, place, and promotion as well. But we'll also have an evaluation loop that will make sure we're keeping track of what our progress looks like. So that's the strategy I'm going to go through. I'm going to reveal each slide and give you some hot tips for each one, but I'm going to do it through the lens of a company that I've created, like I said, made up over the weekend. And it's this. I want you to say hello to Scuba. Now, yeah, thanks, Jack. So Scuba is the next generation of hovercraft-style water taxis, exclusive for the Swan and Canning rivers. Customers will be able to hail Scubas, just like an Uber, from any public jetty along the river using a customer app. I have a fleet of 50 Scubas about to be delivered into Fremantle very soon. Don't ask where the money has come from. And I've got final testing on my customer app, which is ready to launch in a beta phase. And bizarrely, the government have granted me all the licenses that I need. So again, this is the framework we're going to go through. There's going to be 2 sections to it. The hot tips and then the Scuba example. And then we'll come back to seeing what the Scuba marketing strategy looks like. Research. You are not the customer. Don't matter if you think you fit into that profile or you bought the product in the past, you will never be held to the same lens of what your customer will, because you will always have that bias. So please remember that and never use it as, well, I would have bought it this way, because that will never be true. Look at both the market context and the people within it. What is the data of the market telling you and the competition, and what are the people doing within that? I think that's absolutely key. Any research you can do, even if it's small, is better than none at all. When I was at AKQA, I had a designer on Kmart who used to go into Kmart stores with her mobile phone with mobile design concepts that she would share to customers. She knew she was speaking to Kmart customers, and she could see that ethnographic study about how they would complete the task at hand. She gave them a $20 Kmart voucher, and it was a really good outcome for all concerned. Use a mix of qualitative and quantitative methods. Qualitative to get your insights, quantitative to get your scale. I can talk about that in a bit more detail if people need a bit more data on that. Ignore the Henry Ford mantra. Does everyone know what the Henry Ford mantra is? Does anyone know who Henry Ford is? No, Jack's got it. Wanting faster horses, yeah. So basically what he's saying is that if I did research, people wouldn't tell me that they needed a car. But the point of research is not to tell me something that I don't know. It's about to understand the problems, the challenges, the pain points that a potential solution could help fix. And also let the results inform rather than instruct your decisions. Do not be a slave to research. So what have I done with Scuba? Well, my market data has told me that there's 4 keys to service providers with an expensive, limited and infrequent service already on the river, which is true. A little Google search for me at the weekend also revealed there's 14 sailing clubs and 13 public boat ramps along the river as well. I also then spoke to 50 people at key transport hubs, train stations, bus stations, to understand their frustrations with metro urban mobility. And then there was also a survey monkey poll of 1,000 people through social media who indicated a willingness to try Scuba at least once in the next 3 months. Now, of course, I've made that up, but you can see how that could be very achievable for not much budget. Let's go into the audience. Don't be afraid to be detailed. Move away from 45 to 55, male, white, sort of demographic breakdowns. Avoid groups like millennial. They are not a target audience. They are just a bunch of people who were born between 1986 and 1992 or whatever that is. To say that all those people are going to have the same traits and attitudes is absolute bullshit. Mixed demographic with psychographic. You do need the demographic profile, but what are the attitudes that these people have within that group as well? Use pen portraits to give colour and personality, give them a name, give them a job, give them a place where they live, and use data to extrapolate the potential audience size. And I'll come into that in a bit more detail. So let's get into the Scuba example. Scuba is for people who recognise the importance of mobility and public transport in the creation of prosperous urban cities. So you can see I'm getting a little bit richer than just saying they are a certain age, they like travel. They have household incomes of 130 and like to spend it on authentic experiences. They're eco-conscious and believe the river is one of the state's most underutilised natural resources. They're likely to be aged between 25 and 50, could be living alone, could be living with a partner, but they don't have young kids. The kids are probably a little bit older. And a quick review of the Australian Bureau of Statistics estimates there's 800,000 people of this type living in the Perth metro area. So you'll see how we've got an audience and we've used data to extrapolate to understand what the opportunity is. Yeah? Proposition. The core thing you want your audience to remember or take away from the engagement with you. It doesn't have to be a consumer-facing strapline. It can be. Less is always more. People don't remember that many things, so don't give them too much information to engage with. You might hear it called positioning, brand essence, brand promise, brand statement. You can call it whatever you want, really. I think proposition is quite nice. If you do have a purpose, vision, mission, it goes in here. Again, your purpose, vision, mission doesn't have to be consumer-facing. And you actually just understand your audience and your brand, whether you actually need one or not. If you're a charity and not for profit, a purpose, vision, mission might make sense. If you're selling widgets out of Osborne Park, potentially not. Scuba lets you experience the river differently. More stops and greater flexibility with over 25 metro locations, but with our app for commute and leisure travel, as simple as that. They could be consumer-facing lines, they could be a little bit tighter, but you can see how sort of close it is and how it's trying to speak to the audience in a very clear manner. Objectives. Be specific and be smart. And SMART is meant to be an acronym, and hopefully you'll understand what that means, but that is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. Develop a ladder of objectives that creates a link between marketing and commercial goals. Now, this is a really important lesson. Create a conversion funnel for more intricate ecosystems and more advanced marketeers. Now, please bear with me on this one. So, objectives, what I've got here is that I want to increase revenue by 50% to 1 million by the close of FY25. From, to, by, when. I also want to deliver 10,000 trips throughout that year. 15,000 account registrations is what's needed to deliver 10,000 trips. And I can't do any account registrations unless I've done an app download, so I need 20,000 of them. And people can't do an app download unless they've actually heard of the brand, so I need a brand awareness, a brand recall measure, as you can see here. But you can see how that ladder goes from my marketing objective through the engagement of my products and delivers on the sales. I can't do one without the other, but neither can I just say I want to make $1 million without going through the steps to get there. Now, I talked about funnels as well. If you do want to get a little bit intricate, you want to get a little bit more sort of advanced, you could look at conversion rates within your funnel, because you'll actually see there that the amount of apps that I have to deliver on my 15,000 account registrations is 75% conversion rate. Now, if I increase that conversion rate to 80,000, with the same amount of app downloads, I'm getting more from my marketing investment, because I would then like to think that those account registrations deliver more trips then delivers more cash. So that's how a ladder of objectives and a very simple conversion funnel would work. The 4 Ps, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. Look, I'm speaking to a startup community here, so I'm going to be very careful, but know your product intimately, and I'm sure you do. Detail it, but in very simple terms. Distinguish whether you're a product or service. Again, I'm teaching you how to suck eggs here. Be clear on your competitive advantage. Now, throughout the 4 Ps, what I'm going to do is just have this little line here that says validate against your audience, your proposition, your objectives. And that just shows the connectivity between the 4 Ps and the 3 strategic levers that I put at the top. I got a bit excited because I was reading about AUKUS and submarines, so I thought my hovercraft vessels would be WS756 subvessel. I don't even know what that means. But they seat 4 to 5, full accessibility for children, wheelchairs, disembarkation infrastructure. That's just a posh word for the jetty getting on and off. And we'll have over 100 pilots, and I'm calling them pilots as well, which is quite interesting, and staff helping them sort of get on and off. So that's my product in very simple terms from a scuba standpoint. Price is one of the most overlooked levers for marketers that I've ever really known. I don't know why they've lost that power to have that ownership of it, but because you guys are business owners, you do have this option to do something quite interesting in this space. Decide where in your journey price appears. Depending on what your product is, you might want to lead with price, or you might want to engage them into the actual conversation and then reveal what the price would be. And again, depending on what your product is and what premium status that you deliver to that. Experiment with tactics, subscriptions, trials, or introductory offers. Try and stay away from the word discount. I think it cheapens the offer a little bit, but again, it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. But don't ignore margin. Top line revenue is great, but you've got to be making money at the end of the day, so that's quite key. Validate against your audience and proposition. So my pricing is 5% price range within Uber. Season passes are available. I'll do luxury weekend romantic trips if you want to do that. But there's no early pricing reveal. I'm not going to lead with price. I'm going to get people in and then reveal what that price would be. Place. The location where people would actually engage with you. It could be physical or online. Consider product distribution, stock availability. How is the product delivered to your customer? Again, validate that with your audience and proposition, and it will make a lot of sense. Swan and Canning River, and I've got a mobile app across the main 2 app platforms. Promotion or communication, usually advertising, but not always. Think creative and media. Consistency is key, I think, and Jack validated that for me this morning, actually. It's one of the ongoing challenges that Jack sees within Ammo, that it can be a bit of a challenge. And budget should not constrain creativity. There's always a way to get an interesting message out there. And this time, this is the big one. Validate against your audience proposition and objectives. So what am I doing? Again, I've got lots of money for scuba. Again, I don't know where it's come from, Russian mafia maybe. But I've gone for big outdoor advertising in transport hubs. I've got some targeted flyer distribution, communicating the service for those people who are interested in learning a little bit more. I've gone heavy with social media because I want to do some videos so people can actually see the boats, get in and out, what it looks like from the view of the boats. And of course, I need to be downloading mobile apps, so my CTA is absolutely everywhere. Evaluation. I thought I'd deleted this slide, actually. Use your strategies to evaluate your success and status, track progress, maintain a culture of customer orientation at every touch point. Don't think when you've set your strategy that is set and forget. It should try and stay relatively rigid because it is your strategy, but keep going back to the customers to keep validating and learning because things change, new entrants might enter the market, your customers may evolve, or there could be some economic factors you're not aware of. So what I would do at Scuba, weekly review of the objectives ladder, ongoing evaluation loop with the pilots, rapid fire mobile service after every trip, and then the sentiment measure of waterman infrastructure. And what I mean by that is what are people thinking about using the river as a transport method. So the Scuba marketing strategy then looks a bit like this. We've got our research, which we've realised can be done at quite a decent cost. We've got our 3 main pillars of the strategy: audience, proposition, and objectives. Very quickly, we talk about our product, price, place, and promotion. I won't read these into too much detail. And we've got our feedback loop. So what we've done there is taken a marketing strategy, showed you how those constituent parts work with some very quick tips without mansplaining. and then just tested that out and put it through the lens of an organisation like this. And if you had a framework with this sort of content, it also gives you a really strong organising idea to help you continue to do the things that you're good at, hustling, funding, all those other great stuff. So this is not meant to be onerous, it's not meant to take up a lot of time, but it'll be a really interesting and useful exercise, I think, for your business going forward. So hopefully I have shown you why you need a marketing strategy and why it's essential to your business. How to spot strategy bullshit, and there is a lot out there. Showed you some of the issues that a lack of a marketing strategy can cause. Giving you a simple framework so you can create your own marketing strategy. Tested that out through the lens of a real organisation, and giving you a framework to organise your strategic thinking, to make it simple, to make it easier, again, to continue for you to do the things you do well. So hopefully that has come through. But what I'm also going to do is free discovery consultations. If you use the promo code MorningStartup50, which doesn't actually exist, just give me a call. But yeah, no, if I'm more than happy to help on a free basis to understand your business a little bit more, to give you some high-level tips of what you might want to try and achieve. But just drop me an email or give me a call or visit the website. I think that's it. Thank you.
Hold on to that microphone because we might open up to some Q&A. Has anyone got a question for James? Any questions? I should always have a question prepared just while you guys think of questions. All right, beautiful.
How would you run a marketing strategy if your primary customer is someone in government?
Great question. There's still people, I would say. I think this strategy that I have put in place fits for B2C and B2B. So I would use an extension of B2B, but apply that to a different audience. So yeah, look, there's still people who are buying it, even though the entity may be government or it might be a multinational or whatever. The people are still going to be engaged, still have a profile, still have an audience. Your proposition will still need to be strong. But look, again, I'm more than happy to understand the business a little bit more and see if I can give you some better advice. Sorry, not better advice, more detailed advice.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? No more questions? Hey, all right.
Biggest fuck up.
Yeah. Was that a question or a statement?
What is his biggest fuck up? Because I know I've mucked up a bit, so.
What's mine?
A funny one or something like overall.
Agreeing to do the morning startup. Look, when I first came to Australia, I chose North Melbourne as my AFL team, so that hasn't done me too many favours over the years. No, Jack, I can't think. I'm sure there's loads, but yeah, I'll email you some when I think of them.
What about favourite campaign?
Favourite campaign? The Unilever work I did back in the UK for Ogilvy was quite special. There was a number of brands there, Hellmann's and Unilever, sort of corporate brand itself was pretty special from an advertising standpoint. We've done some fantastic work at Human for the last 2 years, where I was general manager, some really strong websites for a whole range of different brands and companies. Yeah, so many to list, but thank you. But yeah, I'm very focused now on just letting people who do that great work, just helping brands and clients make sure that they see the value of that marketing output that the agencies are delivering. I think that's quite key now.
And a quick quiz, what are the 4 Ps, everyone? All right, good. Sorry, there was a question. All right, we got 3 over here.
Maybe on Jack's question, evolving a bit, what common mistake do you see businesses make in regards to marketing?
Tactics before strategy. Churning out a lot of stuff. It could be advertising, it could be a website with no clear goals. And then complaining about the fact I've spent $1 million on marketing and I've got no results from it, and I can't even evaluate it. There's no criteria. So I always believe that marketing should be a value generator and an investment, but a lot of brands are seeing it as a cost, and that's because they can't see the true power of it. So yeah, that's the biggest thing that I'm seeing. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry about the mic, guys. Don't know what's going on. I think it's when both are going at the same time. See how we go.
Thank you very much for a great presentation, very informative and simple, really. So what would be your advice towards employing marketing team, marketing people versus outsourcing to the companies like yours, maybe, generally? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been able to sort of start my own strategy company and speak to you because I've been working in marketing for the last 20 years. You do need that level of experience if you want that strategic rigor. So maybe it's a consultant in the early stage, and I'm not pitching, please don't think I am, to get you going. But then once you've got a strategy in place, you could use agencies, maybe slightly junior members of staff to help you with that execution. But get some strong, rigid, strong thinking at the beginning, and I think that will come at a slight premium.
All right, we've got another one down here.
No.
Don't be like that. Sort of a similar question, but tailored. What's the most common mistake with a startup and marketing?
It's a rush to tactics is what I see. It's a rush that my idea is fantastic, and look, please don't, I'm not being insulted in any way. I really strongly believe in my idea, and I think it's this, and I think it's this, and that is really fantastic, and you need that hustle, and you need that passion. But if you don't think about the customer that you're actually trying to speak to and the problem you're trying to solve, it could just be a little bit hubristic, I think. So don't be in too much of a rush to get your name out there. Just take the solid steps to try and get the strategy right, and then your business will flourish. It really, really will.
All right.
Hi, how's the strategy different when the end user is different from the purchaser?
If the end user is different
So
from
it's
the
like
purchaser.
saying
Yep.
kids baby products,
Yep.
stuff like that. Is
Yep.
there a different, or kids stuff mainly, like
Yep.
who you're
So
appealing to?
Customer and audience. So customer
Yep.
is the purchaser.
Yep.
So in FMCG, the customer will be the parents, and then the user could be anyone as sort of member of the family. So you still need the product to be bought. So I would lean on the customer to get it bought. You need to be aware of the usability, but marketing is about getting more people through the door first. So that would be the first lens. But yeah, it's a really interesting question. And again, I'd love to sort of spend a bit of time with understand your specific problem and give you some more detailed advice. I can use that excuse for anything.
John, thank you so much. My name's Dave. Really appreciated just particularly your thoughts around audience and how you kind of join demographics and psychographics. That's a really good reminder. And then I just wanted to question on the qualitative and quantitative.
Yep.
So I loved how you put the two baskets of insights and scale.
Yeah.
Question around for qualitative and for that kind of in-depth research. Do you have any kind of rules of thumb for how far you should go with that, or how many interviews you kind of need when you're doing that kind of insight?
No, I mean, a lot of it will depend on time, budget, your products as well, how easily accessible your audience is to go and speak to. So there's no real rules of thumb. I think as an owner and a marketeer and a consultant, you'll know when you've got critical mass. That could be 5 people. It could be 50 people. So unfortunately, no, there isn't. Just to put on the qualitative v quantitative. Qualitative is when you speak to people directly. Could be interviews, could be sort of vox pops, could be workshops where you get their individual insights about what they believe or think or feel about your product. Quantitative will be more surveys and data-led research that will validate your insights to extrapolate out to a bigger segment, if that makes sense. So no, not particular. Sorry.
Awesome. One more from Jesse.
What's your position on inbound and outbound marketing strategies? Which one do you usually lean towards, or what's your opinion overall?
Yeah, look, really terrible answer, but it just depends. It depends on what your marketing strategy is telling you. It really does, because they are both tactical executions. Your strategy will be telling you which is going to be the most appropriate. So there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah. So once you, I mean, can't go back, can we? It would sit sort of here, promotion, but understanding your audience proposition and objectives will lead you to what that answer would be. Hello.
How much funds should I keep aside from the 40,000 grant I'll get from Jitsi?
All of it. Beautiful. Love it.
John, thanks for this morning.
No worries.
Can you speak a little bit more
James.
about the... forgive me, sorry.
It's all right.
Could you speak a little bit more about the audience and coming up with personas? You know, once you've done all the research, you're swimming in insights and data and qual and quant and ethno and psych and all the rest of it, do you have rules of thumb for distilling that down into segments or priority or secondary, or what do you do when you're up to your eyeballs in data?
Yeah, again, it depends on who we're speaking to, how many, and all that sort of good stuff. I think a pen portrait of 2 paragraphs tends to be a nice way to sort of articulate it. If you can put it on a postcard and you can stand freely without slides and say, this is my audience, I think that's a good barometer. Because again, you want to keep it as simple as possible. You could go on and on and on, and there'll be companies that will try and sell you personas after persona after persona. I don't think this audience, in terms of the businesses that you've got, you need that. You just need a tight articulation of what you're trying to achieve, who that audience is, and then the rest will follow. So sorry, that sounds like a bit of a woolly answer. It could be one. It could be one. Yeah, it really could. If you can get one, that's fantastic. That's a really good outcome. Because you've been very choiceful with your strategic choices. You're not saying that these are my 5 audiences, you're saying one. And I'm going after this one because I truly believe it's right for my product. My proposition will resonate with them. And the extra data extrapolation I've done, I've realised there's 500,000 of these people in WA. So yeah, look, less is more, absolutely.
All right.
There's a lot of questions. I'm not ready for this.
Sorry, John, one more. So I bring it back to startups.
Yeah.
And like I guess the difference in marketing land of above the line, below the line. I love that you're giving us a reminder to really think strategy first. But is there, like, in terms of if you had a limited budget, say, you know, like you got a 10 grand marketing budget to validate an idea, how would you kind of guide, like if there was a boilerplate or a template of how you would say, hey, spend this above the line, spend this below the line? Do you have a rough for, say, Scuba? How would you go about that?
I mean, there's a classic thinking of 60-40 when it comes to sort of media and creative spend. So 60% brand building awareness, traditional above the line, 40% a bit more performance marketing. So that's always a good guide. But if you've only got 10 grand, spending 6 of it above the line might not make a lot of sense. So your budget will probably inform those decisions. But the classic lessons of 60-40, long and short of it, Les Binet, all that sort of good stuff, which you're nodding, which I assume you know what I mean, is still valid. It is still valid. And you'll see with the 4 Ps here and some of the sort of old lessons that I've mentioned there, marketing doesn't need to be as complicated as it is set out to be. Like I said, there's a lot of charlatans out there that are making it more complicated than it needs to be. The fact that we're using a framework that's been around for 60 years just shows that the fundamentals and the foundations of marketing haven't gone away. We've just forgotten them a little bit. So it's just about bringing those back. And I'm on an evangelical tour to try and gravitate the discipline of marketing to improve it ultimately. And that's one of the objectives of me obviously doing this presentation as well.
Fantastic. Well, you guys are really fired up there in the end with the questions. Well done. Thank you very much. But thank you so much to James Fitzjohn for an awesome presentation. Cheers. All right. So you guys know the drill. We're going to throw furniture at you while you eat food and network with each other. In 2 weeks' time, we've got the pitch event. So please contact at morningstartup.com if you want to get your 3-minute pitch and give it a practice. But we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much. Enjoy.